So a lot of news happening right now on VGN as we move closer to E3, just a few days away. I think it's 3 now, isn't it? Because today's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep, 3 days. So let me give you a quick rundown of the latest headlines. For starters, a couple of disappointing news for PlayStation. We've learned that Death Stranding is not going to be at E3 this year. That's according to Kojima, who says that they are focused on the development of the game. We also learned that Shenmue 3 has been pushed back to late 2018, which to me, this really isn't that surprising. I don't know that it really surprised anybody. In fact, you might be more surprised if it actually does still end up hitting that 2018 date. But I don't think that means that you won't see it on stage this year and see what they've been working on. Also, wouldn't be surprised if they announced something along the lines of a re-release or a remaster of the first 2 in the series, because I know that it's being at least considered and talked about, and I think it would make a lot of sense because everybody was so excited and they were crying over a Kickstarter. I mean, my God, why not go ahead and put out 2 others? Moving on to Microsoft, they have trademarked the name Direct Reality. Really, the only thing that we know is that this is related to gaming in some way, shape, or form. I would imagine that it has to do with the console and Windows 10. Microsoft has stated, though, that they will not be showing off VR plans at E3 this year, but they apparently didn't close the door on mixed reality this year. So I don't know if we will see that or not. I think it's possible, or it could be something for later down the road, and maybe they'll talk about it at one of the later conferences this year. And what could be further proof that Microsoft could be sticking with the name Scorpio, or at least having it related in some sort of way, multiple reports are coming out today that media outlets have been receiving lollipops that have scorpions inside, and this is coming from Microsoft. Me personally, I wouldn't care to see how many licks it takes to get to the center of that one, but maybe that is a sign of things to come. I mean, I've said before, I wish they would just keep the name Scorpio or call it Xbox Scorpion or something like that, because I think that sounds a lot better than some of the other names that I've seen thrown around. I've seen like Xbox One X, which to me, if you write that out, it looks like those generic gamer tags that have X's on both ends of them. So I don't really care for that. People have become familiar with Scorpio. That's what everybody's been referring to it for a year now. So I think it makes sense to sort of just keep it. And so anyway, that's just my opinion. Don't know what's going to happen. And then finally, Scorpio just got a little bit more powerful. So we've known for a while that Scorpio had 12 gigabytes of RAM in it. But not all of that is for game development. So what they had done was they set aside 4 gigabytes that was reserved for the operating system and behind the scenes work. And then developers only had 8 gigabytes of that available to them. But today, Mike Ybarra tweeted this morning, "We'll keep tuning Scorpio to empower creators to share the best versions of their games. Unlocked extra gigabyte of RAM for them. Now 9 gigabytes of GDDR5 for game development." So Microsoft squeezing everything out of the system to ensure developers can get the highest resolution possible with the system, which, you know, for a long time, that's all a certain subgroup of gamers cared about for the first several years of this generation. And no doubt an extra gig is going to help them with those 4K assets. So Scorpio is going to end up with 9 gigabytes of RAM that devs can use, while PS4 Pro is going to have 5.5. So that's a fairly large canyon that's being formed, at least on paper, between the two. 9 gigabytes is actually more than what a lot of PC GPUs have on board. Ybarra went on to say that even if devs don't use that extra gig directly, any RAM that's not being used will be used as cache, which means you're going to get a lot faster loading. Sounds good to me. But the other thing that sounds really good to me is that Phil Spencer chimed in today and said Microsoft's conference is going to last longer than the usual 90 minutes. So a lot of stuff to cover, and hopefully, yes, a whole lot of games to show off. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. Stay tuned right here in the VGN. Follow me on Twitter for the latest gaming headlines. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn.